I've said it before and I'll say it again. With great power comes great responsibility. So when Konami handed the reins for Silent Hill over to a little Polish studio known as Bloober Team, tensions ran high among the fanbase. Some saw this as the revival the long-dead horror series badly needed, while others were more skeptical, and honestly I don't blame them. Their minds were probably still recovering from the sheer horror that was the Silent Hill HD collection. Leading up to the launch of Silent Hill 2 Remake, things weren't looking so good. On one side, there were the corporate suits at Konami, who literally lost the source code for Silent Hill 2 and 3, leading to a poorly made HD remaster that most people thought was worse than the original. And on the other hand, you had this no-name Polish developers. And yet, despite all the developmental drama and widespread apprehension, Silent Hill 2 Remake released on October 8 to a wave of critical and commercial success, garnering praise from major publications and fans alike. One benefit of developing a remake over 20 years after the original is that you get to insert cool little Easter eggs and hidden references that only true fans of the series will understand. And so in today's video, I'm going to showcase why the Silent Hill 2 Remake is a love letter to fans by taking you on a guided tour of these new additions, some of which you might miss if you aren't paying attention. Needless to say, everything past this point is spoiler territory, so don't say I didn't warn you. Alright. Let's start with the game's opening scene, in which James is pondering upon the mysterious letter sent to him by his dead wife, asking him to come find her in Silent Hill. We all know that it was James who killed his wife, but since 2001, fans have been arguing over the exact location of her body. Well, good news, we found her, because thanks to modders, we now know that Mary's corpse was lying in the backseat of James's car this entire time. Another neat little detail that makes the town of Silent Hill extra creepy is the fact that you can find multiple copies of James scattered around the place. The most notable one being the guy watching TV who's wearing the exact same jeans and boots as James. And yes, they're all technically dead. How can multiple versions of James exist at the same time? Well, there is no official explanation about this, but some people believe that it's because Silent Hill works like a closed time loop. It forces the residents to endlessly relive their past trauma until they either manage to confront their fears or beat their guilt, at which point they are finally released from the purgatory. This theory is further reinforced by the fact that one of the first lookalikes you find rotting on the street is lying right next to a note with some helpful instructions on how to survive in Silent Hill, and later in the game you find this note. So who's running this messed up time loop experiment that is Silent Hill? Where does its power come from? Is it aliens? Well, actually, yes, if you consider the UFO ending to be canon, which is unlocked only by finding a specific blue gem in New Game Plus, then yeah, Silent Hill is one giant experiment being played on mankind by little green men who come from a galaxy far, far away. Or it could just be Martians, I don't know. If for whatever reason you have an issue with any of this, take it up with Masahiro Ito on Twitter, better known as X these days. He said all endings are canon, including the dog ending. By the way, James speaks Polish in the dog ending, a subtle note to how in the dog ending for 2001 Silent Hill 2, he spoke Japanese. The reason for his Polish dialogue, you may ask? Well, it's all thanks to Bloober Team being a Polish studio. So in a way, Silent Hill is now officially multilingual. Your nightmares now come with subtitles. Silent Hill 2 Remake is also packing several references to horror books and movies that served as primary sources of inspiration for its creators. And one of the most popular is its homage to Twin Peaks. The developers have never been shy about their admiration for David Lynch's work, and the game itself features some pretty blatant references to this iconic series. But that's just one of the many other eerie Easter eggs that pay homage to legendary horror tales. Take Lakeview Hotel, for example. It's a clear reference to the Overlook Hotel from Stephen King's The Shining. In King's novel, the hotel is a place of unspeakable atrocities, and by the end it goes up in flames. Sounds familiar? Well, let's just say the Lakeview Hotel doesn't exactly make it to the end credits in One Piece either. And the references don't stop at the book only. The developers also gave a sly wink to Kubrick's iconic film adaptation of The Shining. If you look closely, you might just spot a drawing that has an uncanny resemblance to the movie's famous poster. Because what's a horror game without a little red drum? Am I right? Staying on the topic of pop culture references, I just have to mention Maria's wardrobe. In Silent Hill 2 Remake, Maria stumbles upon an interesting outfit. Now, this isn't just a random fashion choice. It's actually a direct nod to the original game, where Maria wore the exact same getup, inspired by Christina Aguilera's look at the 1999 Teen Choice Awards. Who would have thought Silent Hill and late 90s pop divas had so much in common? As you've probably noticed, in the remake, the developers have tweaked Maria's style just so. Some fans weren't thrilled about the change, to the point where mods have already been made to bring back her classic look. But honestly, I think the new outfit suits 2024 much better. Her sex appeal now comes through not just in her clothes, but in her voice, her movements, and the way she carries herself, which, if anything, makes her even more intriguing. But at the end of the day, that's just my take. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments. The next visual influence has been confirmed by Masahiro Ito on his personal Twitter. The inspiration for Silent Hill 2's Eddie Dombrowski is none other than Private Pile from Full Metal Jacket, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. According to Lost Memories character commentary book, his name was originally borrowed from Eddie Murphy, the comedian, because in the early phase, Eddie was supposed to be a very cheerful character. Oh well, we all know how things turned out. Silent Hill isn't a one-size-fits-all nightmare. It customizes the horror experience like the world's most sadistic travel agent, tailoring everything to reflect each client's deepest fears and inner demons. Take Eddie, for example. A small but telling detail about his personal hell is the constant condensation of his breath, no matter where he is. While James and the others don't seem to be shivering, Eddie's Silent Hill is a cold, suffocating place, mirroring his isolation and resentment. Angela, on the other hand, gets the deluxe Dorman package. Her Silent Hill is literal hellfire. In her final scene, James finds her standing in a hallway, completely consumed by flames. When he hesitates, she delivers the chilling line.
For me, it's always like this.
No cryptic symbolism there, just pure unending suffering. Silent Hill really knows how to personalize your nightmares, doesn't it? But let's get back to Eddie for a second here. Remember that moment in the original Silent Hill 2 when James tries to call him out for being completely unfazed by all the horrors happening around them in the original Silent Hill?
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Interestingly enough, Bluebird Team changed this scene in the remake, because now, when James comes across Eddie in the theater, he doesn't comment on Eddie's desire for Domino's in the middle of a monster apocalypse. Instead, he takes a subtle jab at Eddie's hunger pangs by saying,
At least you got your appetite back.
Thankfully, the developers at Bluebird didn't remove the OG dialogue completely, because you can still trigger it by visiting Pete's Bowl-O-Rama.
This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat pizza?
It serves as a nice callback to the 2001 game, and you also get the trophy Leftovers for finding the half-eaten pizza and triggering the Easter egg. And let's not forget, the pizza scene isn't the only reference of its kind. The 2024 remake is practically a love letter to the 2001 original, packing in at least 26 flashback sequences that directly reference key moments from the classic game.
What is it?
Nothing. Just deja vu. Whenever you find a location from the old game that has been modified for the remake, James gets a flashback from the past, which might be yet another confirmation of Silent Hill being an infinite time loop. Essentially, Easter eggs, these glimpses of the past, serve as a nice reminder of how the remake honors the OG, while simultaneously doing something fresh and new. Prior to the release, the developers teased that the new game was going to be 100% bigger than the original. And since I've now played the game front to back, I can confirm that this is true. While the original Silent Hill 2 can be completed in just 8 hours, the remake can easily take more than 16 hours if you're going for side objectives, that is. But the Silent Hill 2 remake doesn't just pay homage to the original, it also sneaks in subtle references to other games in the franchise, and one of the coolest connections comes straight from Silent Hill 3. In Silent Hill 3, one of the key locations is Jack's Inn, a motel that also appeared in Silent Hill 2. But there was one key difference. In Silent Hill 3, the motel had a room 106, whereas in the original Silent Hill 2, it simply didn't exist. The remake, however, decided to fix that little inconsistency by adding room 106 to Jack's Inn. But the real gem? A sneaky little Easter egg hidden inside the new location. In room 106, you can find a very familiar fedora, the one worn by Douglas Cartland, the private detective from Silent Hill 3. Now, does this hat actually mean anything for the story? No. But it is a ridiculously cool reference, isn't it? We have already covered the callbacks to the original Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, but now it's time to turn our attention to the elements that tie into Silent Hill 4. One specifically interesting detail comes in the form of a broken jukebox puzzle in the Silent Hill 2 remake, where you must fix a broken record player by finding a keycap for the number pad. I genuinely don't know why James couldn't just push down on the key lever manually, since it probably requires like 2 pounds of force. But anyway, the plot requires that he plow his way through hordes of murderous demons to fist a giant fleshy hole in the bathroom. That hole might look awfully familiar to those of you who've played Silent Hill 4. In Silent Hill 4, the hole is much larger. Henry can practically crawl through it. And if you've managed not to think that's what she said, you are better than me. Anyways, this hole is also located in a very similar place right next to the sink. And I think I should stop repeating the word hole so many times. Going back to Jack's Inn for a moment, it contains a safe protected by a lock code. You can find the key to this code in room 107, but trust me, you won't need it if you're a fan of immersive sims. You see, there is this ancient tradition of using the code 0451 for locks. Many gamers assume it's a reference to Fahrenheit 451. However, the actual reason behind this code is far more hilarious than you think. Back in the 90s, when Looking Glass Studios had their office in Massachusetts, someone set the door code to 0451. I don't know who this was, but we have him to thank for the code becoming a running joke. The first game to feature this code was System Shock 1 in 1994. Since then, it's been featured in Deus Ex, Prey, Thief, Bioshock, Dishonored, and even the 2019 Call of Duty Modern Warfare remake. Bloober also included some pretty serious meta-commentary in their remake. In the original, save screen were red squares with a static image of James's face layered onto the background. However, in the remake, you're staring into his face as he looks around and reacts to the environment. This might feel uncomfortable at first, but there's a reason Bloober made this change. When you encounter your first save point in the well after descending into Silent Hill through the forest, James will comment on how he feels like someone is literally going through his head. This is meta-commentary, and save files are basically the player flipping through James's memories to pick a place and time. You'll notice that in every save spot, James is staring directly at you, but something changes in his mind after the staircase scene, because now he looks away from you. I think at this point, James has decided to confront the truth of what he did, and it haunts him immensely, which is why he cannot bring himself to look the player in the face. James is also revealed to be an alcoholic, or at least someone recovering from a drinking habit, because when you enter the Heaven's Night strip club with Maria and she offers you a drink, James refuses. Not verbally, he just doesn't pick up the glass and stays silent throughout the scene, as Maria leaves the drink in front of him on the table. However, when the camera zooms in, you can see James's right hand twitching, almost as if he wants to grab the glass and drink away his sorrows, but his consciousness is telling him he shouldn't fall down this path again. This scene is entirely new to the remake, and it's a reference to a scene from the original game, in which James comes across a pile of liquor bottles and says, "I don't need that right now." Alrighty, boys and girls, we have finally reached the last, but by no means the least piece of today's puzzle. I think you already know where this is going. Mary's death. Not only is it the core of Silent Hill 2, but it's also one of the game's final and most devastating twists, the ultimate revelation in James's story. In the game's final part, James arrives at Lakeview Hotel, where he finds an old videotape and plays it in room 312. And this is where the truth finally hits. The recording shows James walking into Mary's room and suffocating her with a pillow. Up until this moment, he's been desperately blocking out this memory, replacing it with self-made illusions to avoid facing what he has done. But there is actually a way to catch a brief glimpse of the truth earlier in the game. In Revere Theater, if you linger near the white screen, you'll see something unsettling. A blink and you'll miss it flash of frames from the very same videotape. A fleeting but chilling preview of the murder. This is James's guilt breaking through the mental barrier that he has constructed for himself, just for a brief period, reminding him of exactly what he did, and foreshadowing the events that will take place later in the game. Because Silent Hill 2 isn't just a story about loss and suffering. It's a deep exploration of guilt and self-deception. No matter which ending you get, whether it's in Water, Leave, Maria, or Rebirth, one thing remains unchanged. Silent Hill is a reflection of James's own mind, and his greatest monster is himself. I hope you learned something new about Silent Hill 2 from this video, because I had a ton of fun making it. Let me know in the comments below if you've noticed any cool details of your own while playing the Silent Hill 2 remake. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Even though the topic was a bit spooky, I feel like it wasn't as scary with you around. So thank you for spending your time with me, and I will see you in the next one.